working folk. When we stand hand in hand, that's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union grand. Well, if you keep licking the boot of your boss, then nod and agree to whatever they like. But if you would turn every win to a loss, then give up your power to strike. But you know there is power in a band of working folk. When we stand hand in hand, that's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union grand. Would you have mansions of gold in the sky and live in a shack that's way in the back? Would you take wings up in heaven to fly, but starve here with rags on your back? No, 'cause there is power in a band of working folk. When we stand.
Everybody, welcome to the 133rd anniversary of the Battle of Homestead that happened right here, right on the shores of the Monongahela, right here. And this pump house existed at the time. In fact, the pump house is the only remaining building from the Carnegie Steel plant that remained. And of course, when the steel mills closed here in the 70s and 80s, all the tremendous industrial structures and productive capacity of manufacturing was destroyed. And so we have a shopping center here, but we have the pump house. And my name's John here. I'm the president of the Battle of Homestead. In 1992, our founders got together with other activists, historians, artists, those that were interested in our history, and sponsored a symposium on the Battle of Homestead. And out of that has come quite a bit of scholarship with respect to the documents that existed at the time. And there's been a lot of discussion and important works that have tried to bring some clarity to an event that at the time Homestead was the focus of the world, actually, given the events that happened here and the import of the development of the steel industry and industrial capacity and the very strong growth and production and modernization going on in the workforce, but not in the workforce so much as in the capital investment of the company. So the Battle of Homestead, from that beginning, became a foundation in the late 90s, insofar as we filed and became a nonprofit organization, tax exempt, and we more recently, in the last couple of years, have spent some time to try to define who we are and what our mission is. To summarize, since the 1980s, dedicated people have worked to preserve, interpret, and promote a people's history, focused on the significance of the dramatic labor conflict at Homestead, Pennsylvania in 1892. The Pump House Gang, that's what one non-official name for us, meets every Wednesday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. at the Eaton Park in the waterfront Homestead. And that is true, we do. That's not the only meetings we have. We have a structure with committees, we plan programs, and what is our mission? Inspired by the dramatic labor conflict of the 1892 Battle of Homestead, we promote a people's history, empower today's workforce, and build strategies for the future of work. That's how we now define our mission. What values go into that? We believe in the dignity of work. We believe in labor's rich heritage and its pivotal place in our society. Labor, organized labor. We believe in community engagement through programs and partnerships. We believe in skills development and prepared workforce for the future. And we believe in human rights within a robust democracy. Our vision is we will celebrate working class culture, promote labor's rich heritage, and shape the future of work. That's how we define ourselves. In 1992, the Allegheny County Council met with some of our leaders and were very willing and interested to promote a proclamation on the occasion of the anniversary of the Battle of Homestead. That first proclamation, with the help of our county councilman who represented Homestead and other parts of eastern part of Pittsburgh, was made. I want to read you that proclamation. In prior meetings, we have had the county council people responsible, Paul Klein, did I get it right, Klein? Yeah, Paul Klein, and Anita Prizio last year. This year, I'm going to read it. The reason why I'm reading a proclamation, because it's really good in terms of expressing what happened and why it's significant. So bear with me. The light is not great here. I'll do my best in reading it. But I also want to thank one of our founders, our President Emeritus, Charlie McCollister, who's here, for helping to draft this proclamation. Whereas the Homestead Steel Strike, including the July 6, 1892 battle at the historic pump house in Munhall, is arguably the most famous and consequential struggle in American labor history, and we'll talk about why that is in this proclamation. Whereas 3,000 workers working under a union contract from 1889 to 1892 helped build and then operate what was among the most productive and revolutionary steel mills in the world, combining both the Bessemer and open hearth technologies. Whereas in Homestead, a town founded in 1881 to serve the needs of a rapidly expanding steel industry, several thousand townspeople and workers asserted, quote, a certain property right to their jobs and took up arms in defense of their employment. You can read more about their idea of a property right to your job, and that is the actual proclamation of the workers at the strike on the plaque outside the bronze plaque. That's a radical notion that we've never been able to really debate and talk about. It means if you're doing your job and you're helping the production of an enterprise, and the enterprise is being successful in terms of its mission and its production, you have a right to maintain that job and not be dismissed from it for no reason at all. So, whereas a force of 300 Pinkerton agents armed with Winchester repeating rifles hired by who? Henry Clay Frick, to assert the property rights of Carnegie Steel failed in their attempt to land on the banks of the Monongahela, and following a gun battle, including a couple old Civil War cannons, some of them worked, some of them didn't, where 7 workers and 3 Pinkerton agents were killed. At least 10 people we know were killed. There were a number of Pinkertons that may have expired that we have no records of, or there were no records ever of. Following a gun battle where 7 workers and 3 Pinkerton agents were killed, the Pinkertons surrendered to Union and town leaders that day. Whereas under the Union contract, workers had a strong voice under the Union contract that they were defending. They had a strong voice on the job, a negotiated share of productivity and profit, works that were determined by work function and negotiation. Sundays and holidays off, as well as control over the political life of the town through free elections. In fact, the Burgess of Homestead, John McLucky, was also an active unionist and part of the Union Strike Committee. Whereas, despite and following the breaking of the Union, the lower half of the workforce had to work from 72 to 84 hours a week with drastically reduced pay. A swing shift was also imposed that severed workers from the political life of the town, with many subjected to the brutal long term, a 24-hour shift every other week, as time off for weekends and holidays were virtually abolished. And whereas the 1892 Battle of Homestead established the dominance of the American system of employment at will, we still have it, the American system of employment at will, where both collective and individual rights of workers were completely subjugated to the will of corporate power and private ownership. No legal rights to form a union, no appeal to unfairness on the job, other than the ability to strike, which was not recognized under any law. No power to bargain, negotiate, or even speak until the United Steelworkers gained a contract 45 years later in 1937. And the proclamation ends, "Be it hereby resolved that Allegheny County Council calls upon all citizens to use this anniversary of the Battle of Homestead, July 6th, to discuss the importance of organized labor in reducing extreme economic inequality, to think about society's need for worker skills, intelligence, and participation to achieve sustainable and useful employment, to understand the centrality of both free speech and concerted activity to rebuild productive and healthy communities." This proclamation is a quick summary of some of the most salient issues to us to remember. Why? Because history seems to run in cycles, and since the time of 1892, yes, it took 40-some years for the workforce in steel and the workforce in our country to be recognized, and organized labor established, and the right to bargain. Even though that occurred and helped to begin to build the middle class of our country, amazingly, surprisingly, history has proven that the workers haven't been able to exert their property rights over their jobs. And we've been through the 80s and the 90s, where the steel industry essentially gave up investment in manufacturing in our towns and the area of much of the towns in the United States. And the towns were left high and dry. And many of us here have friends and relatives or were activists to begin to try to deal with the situation in our communities and when workers found themselves with no other possibilities for income from their employment, when workers' families suffered a loss of benefits, when workers' families had to go to food banks, and food banks expanded like crazy to begin to deal with their situation. And the stockholders and owners of the industry invested elsewhere, in many cases overseas, and it's been our experience that the spirit that helped to build the labor movement in the 30s and 40s is the spirit that today is the only way we're going to be able to deal with many of the problems that we have in society today. And of course, we're dealing with an election situation this year that borders on the, as they say, existential decision that we all face. Will we have the democracy that we would like to have, or will we have autocracy running our country? And the way that we try to learn and work together and share is through our programs that we as an organization do. You can find out a lot about our programs by giving us your email back at the literature table, and you will get an email every week that tells you the activities that the organization is involved with. We see today as a informal discussion. We have in the past had panels of historians, and we've sponsored and worked with other organizations such as the Rivers of Steel in terms of their inviting history teachers to come and to discuss the Battle of Homestead and how to teach about it. We've worked together with them. And we would like to invite you to participate in our program. So today, mostly, it's going to be some celebration of the spirit of the townspeople that were, that actually were in control of the town and in control of their lives and jobs as long as they had their contract. When they lost their contract in their organization, as we read, for 30 or 40 years, organized labor suffered the conditions that we've talked about. So the way we're going to celebrate today is we're very proud that as an organization, 4 years ago, we established the beginning of an archives for people's history in our area and the celebration of the industrial history of our area and the political struggle to maintain manufacturing through the closure of the steel mills in the 70s and 80s. And we have some examples here of the Battle of Homestead archives that we'll be talking about. We also have wonderful historians and labor activists combined together. Our member Howard Scott, a former worker with the United Steelworkers, and former president Jim Coons, now retired, of the operating engineers, is here. And they both have wonderful collections of memorabilia. Howard runs a website called Pennsylvania Labor History Society, and they've all brought examples. So we're going to call them and ask them to come and speak and talk about what memorabilia they've brought that they can see. And we'll hear from them. And then a little later, we'll hear from the Pittsburgh Labor Choir that has graciously consented to come and help us out with some celebration of labor and movement music. And a little bit after that, we'll probably go outside and hear the May Day Marching Band that's here and that joins many of the activities that are in support of peace and justice and unionization and equality. So let me first call up Howard to talk about the archives of the Battle of Homestead and his archives, personal archives.
Howard Scott, Jim Coons is here with me, and we're along some of these old badges and various other kinds of memorabilia from the labor movements, social causes, mainly from the region here. I got mine kind of broken down into different groups. Like one is railroad labor. You know, of course, the railroads from their inception had organization, workers organizing, generally along the craft lines. You have your engineers union, the firemen's union for the guys that were putting the fuel in the boiler, and then the shopmen and 3 or 4 other major crafts, as well as some smaller crafts. And just kind of summarize them here. You can kind of speak about them. There's a group there, they're called the Railroad Brotherhoods. One in particular that I thought was interesting was, it's hard to find, I gotta watch out, Jim was gonna try to get this one off of me, I know, but this is the old Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters.
Familiar with that one?
Well, it was back in the old Jim Crow days. This was a job for black workers could go get a decent paying job, travel around the country as a porter in the sleeping cars of the railroad. So happens the guy who was the head of this one, A. Philip Randolph, was really an amazing figure in labor history. As a matter of fact, he doesn't get much credit for it, but when the big steel organizing drive was going on here in Chicago, in Gary, and various other steel centers, Birmingham, A. Philip Randolph was going around beforehand having talks with clergy, community leaders in the black community, and getting them on board with this whole CIO organizing campaign for steel. He really laid a lot of the groundwork, didn't get much credit for it, but the head of the sleeping car porters, who was an AFL union, so I think when they try to separate CIO and AFL, sometimes they make too big of a deal out of it. There was a lot of inner labor movement unity there. You're welcome to come up and look closer at these things. But I just got this one last month. So this is a calendar for the year 1936, and what it has here is Franklin Roosevelt, who was running for a second term as president, and the John L. Lewis, who was the head of the United Mine Workers Union, and quite an influential person. It says, "Our presidents." You know, it was basically a prelude to trying to get Roosevelt reelected after he'd really done quite a change in the national government in the wake of the Great Depression, 1929 to 1941 probably. And the United Mine Workers, who was the biggest industrial union in the American Federation of Labor, it set up this thing called the Labor Nonpartisan League in conjunction with other unions of like mine that wanted to get out there and organize the unorganized throughout the country and do something about this serious depression that was going on, provide jobs for folks. But this was just like one little example of New Deal kind of organizing efforts. And after 1936, John L. Lewis and his pals got kind of fed up with the slowness of the organizing efforts. So they set up this, they had their first convention in Pittsburgh on the north side at the Islam Grotto, and set up the Congress of Industrial Organizations, they called it. And now this is a little collection I have where I tried to get each of the different unions that were affiliated with the CIO. That lasted from 1936, 37 to 1955 when they remerged and became the AFL-CIO in a unified effort. But, as we live in our modern age, we have internet, we have text messages, we have all these various ways of communicating. This is essentially 100 years earlier, they were communicating using these buttons and political pins. The celluloid pins actually only came about in about 1895. Prior to that, they had badges and everything. Matter of fact, one of our members, their grandfather was a great button maker here locally, A.G. Trimble, who was based out of the Jenkins Arcade downtown. And, it was just the political buttons. There's a lively interest in these old political buttons dating back to Teddy Roosevelt and the rest. A little less so in these labor pins. So guys like Jim and I are able to sometimes go in there and find some real gems. A couple examples. I won't hold it up too long, but here's one. It's just a little simple button that's double V. Okay, what is double V? Well, the Pittsburgh Courier, an African-American newspaper here based in town, right in the middle of World War II, there was already the big V for Victory campaign over the Axis powers. Well, they set up a program in conjunction with the Chicago Defender, another like-minded newspaper, said we had to have a double V campaign. So as soon as we have victory in Europe and in the Pacific Theater, we had to have victory against discrimination here in the United States. So it was sort of a combined effort there, but so it's just a little button, but it kind of represents an important chapter, in the development of equality in the United States. Jim, I'm getting almost ready for you here. We haven't, it's really hard to find things for the Homestead strike itself, 1892. Very few things to remember it by. There have been a few of these badges that showed up at both Munn Hall and, Homestead. But there is these were called stereo cards, and from about the Civil War till about 1900, people would have these little viewers. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but you put these stereo cards in these little things, and you could kind of get a 3D image of what was going on. And they did have about 300 different images of the Homestead strike that were available. Unfortunately, they were all photographs after the fact, or when the troops were all stationed up on the hill up here. They have very few of the actual events. As a matter of fact, if somebody has any ideas, they don't have any of the pictures of the victims of the Homestead strike. There's no images, no photographs collected. It makes me a little suspicious. They might have made sure that they didn't have any pictures or images for which to make heroes of these folks. But if anybody comes across some, let us know, because Steffi Domike, I know in particular, is looking for some. The newspapers around the country have been divesting their photographic archives and digitalizing all their previous photographs from decades past. And so these old press photos show up now and then. And I thought I'd bring this along, especially since we had singing going on. Here's the United Mine Workers Band, singing band. You know, music has been an important part of all these social movements, I have to say, dating back to the Knights of Labor. They had some great songs, Hold the Fort, that were regular. So music we'll hear today is part of a long time tradition here. You know, among the other things we can find sometimes old postcards that would represent labor disputes, invitations, tickets to events. We've got tickets to the CIO's day at Kennywood Park. They had IWW rallies at Kennywood Park back in the old days, pre-World War I. But this is just one time I took some of these. Two of my daughters are here today, Sarah and Kate. And I took them back to these buttons into their class during their Bring Your Dad to Work at the school day.
I remember.
So then I found that a lot of them were really fascinated. They like getting in there and putting their hands on them and getting a little bit of a it's another way to convey the history, rich history of our region, and hope you get a chance to come up, take a look at it. I'd like to introduce the Grand Master of Button Collecting here in the Pittsburgh region, Mr. James Coons. Headed up our operating engineers local here, taxi drivers, all the construction sites, and various things, and he'll tell you a little bit about his collection. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jim Kuntz. I'm a retired business manager. Still got to educate people that aren't in the building trades about the building trades hierarchies. The business managers run our locals. The presidents work for the business managers, where in a lot of your locals, the presidents are in charge. So there's a lot of different things as well as unique things about all the various unions out there. I've been collecting labor union memorabilia, anything. Buttons, pins, badges, paper, posters, signs, magazines, newspapers, books, whatever I can get. It's just been a passion for probably 40 some years. And I continue to do it, and I'm lucky. My son, I think he's outside with my granddaughter. He'll probably get most of this when I move on, so we can keep this alive. But I just brought a few things with me. To start with, I brought a number of trays of steelworker memorabilia, some pins and badges, some earlier stuff from the Steelworkers Organizing Committee, especially during the Second World War. They had the Victory pins. And when you look at the creation of the CIO, from the AFL, which was, quote, the more non-skilled, which isn't true, but that's the way it was looked at by the building trades. When that was created with John Lewis, the steelworkers were probably the first successful CIO union when it came to actually organizing in the country. And that was under Philip Murray. I don't know if you all know that Philip Murray was actually a mine worker who worked for John Lewis, and that's why he got to be the first president of the steelworkers. But they had a lot of great success, so you'll see a lot of that over there. There's also a tray of newer stuff. I mean, the steelworkers are prolific button makers and have been historically. I've got binders and trays of the stuff. But for every cause they ever had or every strike they ever had, they normally put out at least one or two pins, and they're pretty neat. So if you look up there, there's actually a 6-inch or 9-inch button that's actually concerning scabs, which I think is absolutely great, and it's big yellow. In addition to that, there's a tray of paper, and one of them is a flyer for McKeesport from about 1931 or 32 for organizing steelworkers in McKeesport. And actually the guest speaker in that was a mine worker, Pat Fagan, who was the president of District 5. But again, back in those days, and it would change over time, the mine workers worked a lot with the steel workers when it came to organizing, especially here in Western Pennsylvania. They helped each other out, provided each other with a lot of resources and a lot of revenue. Then I have a tray over there. There's a series of real photo postcards, which are the 1909 press steel car strike. And back then, I don't know if you've ever seen it, real photo postcards were a big deal. A guy would come in, he would take a picture, and then he would start to print these postcards, and it could be any kind of an event. But there were a lot of them for strikes. I probably got about 400 or 500 real photo postcards for labor movements, whether it's strikes or Labor Day parades from around the country. Some of the most prized ones, which I didn't bring, are Wobblies, IWW strikes, especially out west. But the thing about the press steel car strike was that the Wobblies were involved in that strike in McKees Rocks. And it was a pretty brutal strike that lasted for a while. So it's a lot of history there. Two other trays I brought. One is on the 8-hour day movement, and that movement is as old as the labor movement itself. There is a little period of time when it really was the 10-hour day movement, because most of the time in the steel industry, even in the construction industry, you went to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. You may occasionally, if you had a good employer, get a couple hours off on Sunday morning so that you could go to church, but guess what? You still put your 12-hour day in, you just did it later on Sunday. That moved to a 10-hour-a-day movement, and then finally the 8-hour-a-day movement, which was really triggered by a lot of unions, including the Amalgamated Association of Iron and Steel and Tin Workers, which was the union that was involved with the Homestead strike. They had won an 8-hour day. It was a 7-day-a-week, 8-hour day, but it was only 8 hours a day, which was pretty impressive back in, I think they got that in about 1894. The contractor, not contract, but agreement before they went on strike. Later, and we all blame Frick, but it was Carnegie as well as Frick. Carnegie would claim how great, how labor unions were good for workers and how it was workers should be able to be part of a labor union, while at the same time he was trying to break unions in all of his facilities. In fact, prior to Homestead, he was trying to break the Knights of Labor, and I can't remember, it was one of his plants also here in Western Pennsylvania, and it slips my mind at this point. But this guy was always saying good things about unions while at the same time breaking it, and his hatchet man was Henry Clay Frick. So even with the strike, Carnegie he went to Scotland to take an extended vacation, while at the same time he was having correspondence with Frick about breaking the union here in Homestead. So Frick gets all the claim for breaking Homestead, but it was just as much Carnegie as it was Henry Clay Frick. So you have the 8-hour thing, and the 8-hour day, since probably the time of 1896, has been the cause for all of organized labor. It doesn't matter what industry you were in, at what period of time, even including today, the 8-hour day is a problem. We got the 8-hour day, and I will tell you, my big thing is in organized labor, and then all of a sudden, 40 hours a week wasn't enough, in all honesty, in the construction trades for some of our members who wanted more than the American dream, so they were willing to work 7 days a week, 10 or 12 hours a day to make the money so they could get a bass boat and another house and everything else. So the 8-hour day to this day is still a problem, because when you got to go to work for 10 or 12 hours a day, it's usually not good on your family life. So there's a whole bunch of pins up there that run the gamut from the late 1800s to current days you can look at. The last thing is a special bit of labor history here in Western Pennsylvania, and that's Father Cox. And I don't know how many, some of you are shaking your heads. Father Cox was a unique individual in Pittsburgh who advocated for the unemployed during the Great Depression. He also was a significant advocate for the bonus that veterans had won in serving in World War I, but the Hoover administration refused to let them have because, they were running in a deficit, and God forbid that, they should give it to working people instead of keeping it the tax dollars for the government. So Father Cox organized all kinds of reliefs for unemployed workers here in Pittsburgh, and then they also went down to join the Bonus Army Marchers in Washington, D.C. to advocate for the bonus. And you will see there's a hat in there. They were called the Blue Shirts. So I do have a hat. I know there is a shirt in existence in the South Hills, and I'm waiting for this individual's son to give me a call, though I can maybe get it from the estate because the guy isn't going to let me have the shirt. But it's one of my holy grails for the labor movement. But he would have raffles. He would sell religious medals for like a nickel in order to raise money, and all that money would have Father Cox's name on the back and maybe the Blessed Mother on the front. He would sell those in order to raise money to help feed the poor and unemployed in Pittsburgh at the beginning and all through the Depression. So that's what I have. I have a lot of other stuff. I have a passion for this. I have just enough knowledge to make me dangerous. I'm not like Charlie back there that knows everything about everything. And I refer to his book on a pretty regular basis, to get the details on the things that, that I like. I'm going to take one liberty here to mention that there's a group called the American Political Items Collectors. It's a national organization, mostly political items, but there's a number of labor item collectors in this organization. Political cause buttons, which I also collect from all kinds of causes and prohibition and all that. They have a convention August the 5th through, I think it's the 9th or the 10th. It's at Seven Springs in Somerset. It's open to the public. Starting that Tuesday the 6th or Wednesday the 7th, they have a bourse that's open and you can go up and buy pins or badges or just see all of this stuff. There's talks on Tuesday. In addition, if you have old political memorabilia that you're looking to get rid of, there's a lot of dealers there. It's a good place to go up there and clean house on some of your political stuff that you may have gathered over the years. And, I'm lucky I have a son, actually 2 sons and a daughter want my stuff, but I know a lot of collectors whose kids don't want anything to do with this stuff. So, we got to find a good home for it. So with that, I'd invite you to come up there. I'm part of that organization. It'll be a good time. And again, a lot of great information up there, both about politics and the labor movement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. I declined to mention the banners that are hanging around our pump house today. And the artist who made those banners is here with us. We're so proud of our member, Bill Young. Bill, thank you very much. Bill was the communications director and the newsletter publisher of the asbestos workers in Western Pennsylvania. And on his own, he's a fantastic artist and a graphic artist, telling stories through books, but mostly through pictures. You can see examples of Bill's work, and of course his classic is the graphic depiction of the Battle of Homestead, and there is a special poster you can take with you if you like. We took ours, and it's on our wall at home. We framed it, and I think you'll want to do the same too if you're enthused about telling the story of labor and telling of people's history. So the wonderful thing about these banners, there's actually a flyer about them where Bill talks a little bit about his thoughts. Each banner represents a decade in the Homestead Mill, starting in the 1880s, where the Homestead Mill started, and you will see the different typical workers of the mill portrayed through their uniform, through their tools, through their attitudes. And the one I like is the 60s one with the peace sign here, 1960s. our generation, but Bill is a great asset and has also recently published a novel. It's quite a story. Help me name the title of it, Bill, if you can. I know it's got boiled cats.
Two things. Blood and Sweat, Struggles in Pennsylvania, 1845 to 1910. Graphically depicted, so the women know the Bill Jones. And Paradise, Haunted Seeds, and Boiled Cats. Something like you've never heard before, but it will be familiar to you all.
I want to buy one for Jim Foots.
Okay, all right. The other, so
Our archives, Cassidy Knott, our archivist.
yes, we're coming to Cassidy here. Okay, so Cassidy, please come forward if you may. We are so proud of our archives project. This is Cassidy Knott.
Is that good? Okay, yeah, that's cool. Hi, I'm Cassidy Knott. I'm the archivist for BHS Archives and Special Collections. We have three major collections at present. The Charles McAllister collection, we have the Mike Stout collection, and the Mark Fallon collection. You can see bits and pieces. I think I was describing them earlier, like they are a blip of what we actually have over there. Right now we have all of our collections housed in garden storage down the street. We don't have a physical location yet. We're gonna get there one day. But we have over there a table of things you can't touch. So that would be the buttons, the papers, things like that. And we do have a table that is stuff you can touch. So there's some newspapers, and I've put out some white archivist gloves, which you can use or you don't have to. But just to kind of show you what an archivist would do, and especially with newspapers. Old newspapers are notorious for leaking onto your hands, and you feel so gross by the end, so that's why we have some of the white gloves. And then t-shirts, hats, things like that, so feel free to come over and touch them. Right now, the archives is going through a really awesome project where we are attempting to digitize our projects and put them online. At present, we have 3 of our major collections online. It's not the entire collection because that would be an amazing feat, and maybe we'll do that one day. But at present, we only have bits and pieces of the collections put online so the public can see them, interact with them, use them for research. One of my biggest things as an archivist is I don't want to gatekeep these awesome collections because we don't have a physical location you all can come and visit. By putting them online, we're able to share them with the public, that's the whole purpose of donating them, is so that people outside can use them as well. We are located on the PA Power Library. That's where you can visit these locations right now. We're still uploading things. There are, I think, 2 collections we're interested in getting to us and then processing and then getting those online as well. I think that's everything. Feel free to come over and touch what you can and check out what you can't touch. But they're all pretty cool things. I think that's it.
Okay, now we're going to hear from the May Day Marching Band. If you're interested in shade outside and to hear a real band, like we're in the demonstration in the band, it's right out here. So take a break, grab a bottle of water or whatever, and we'll hear from the May Day Marching Band. Then we'll hear from the Labor Choir.
When asked to state the cost per ton of bill, it's 4x4. Had he been in a swearing room, I fancy he'd have swore. You O'Connell as a leader placed upon the stand. Describe what you were doing when the vultures tried to land. I risked my life in treating men, for God's sake not to shoot. And for my pains by Lovejoy I was stigmatized a loot. McLucky as a witness proved that he'd been through the mail, and gave some sturdy pointers on the famed McKinley bill. And boldly intimated that where benefits accrue, they are not for the masses but the highly favored few. was appointed to see justice hold the sway, and filled the bill admirably in an autocratic way. To construe the law to meet his views, he'll very seldom fail. While officials strut around at large, the workmen go to jail. Their code of action seems to say, I feel inclined to brag. I'll bust the amalgamation now, bring out the pirate's flag. The skull and crossbones now display to let the public know. The Union men have had their day, I'll give the scabs a show. The scabs, they are a filthy set, I can't discriminate. And though I ain't allowed to bet, I'll confidently state that with your shoulders to the wheel, they can't soil Homestead, Mass. They'll seek congenial quarters where they're not so rough on rats.
So all of that was just 3 verses.
But the whole story.
That's 1, 2, 3.
Arise, ye prisoners of starvation. Arise, ye wretched of the earth. For justice thunders condemnation. A better world's in birth. No more traditions change the line us. Arise, ye slaves, no more in thrall. The earth shall rise on new foundations. We have been not, we shall be all. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. No Savior from on high delivers, no faith have we in prince or peer. Our own right hand the chains must shiver, chains of hatred, greed, and fear. To make the thief give up his plunder and bring to all a happier lot. Like the forge and let your hammer thunder, and we'll strike while the iron is hot. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. No more deluded by reaction, on tyrants only will make war. The soldiers too will take strike action, they'll break ranks and fight no more. And if those cannibals keep trying to sacrifice us to their pride, they soon shall hear the bullets flying. We'll shoot the generals on our own side. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. Toilers from shops and fields united, the union we of all who work. The earth belongs to us, the workers, no rule here for the shirk. How many of our flesh have fattened, but if the noisome birds of prey shall vanish from the sky some morning, the blessed sunlight still will stay. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The Internationale and tricks us. Wage systems drain our blood. The rich are free from obligations. The laws the poor delude. Too long we've languished in subjection. Equality has other laws. No rights, say we, without your duties. No claims on equals without cause. 'Tis the final conflict. Let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. 'Tis the final conflict. Let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. Behold them seated in their glory, the kings of mine and will and soil. What have you read in all their story? But how they plundered toil. Fruits of the workers still are buried in the coffers of a few. In working for their restitution, we will only ask our due. 'Tis the final conflict. Let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race. 'Tis the final conflict. Let each stand in their place. The Internationale shall free the human race.
Which one was longer?
We're doing all our big long songs today. When you do all 19th century songs, it's going to be a lot of long text lines.
They're all long.
Yeah,
They didn't have anything better to do than to write.
that's right. They had lots of time. That's right. So the next one is another one that we know was around here at the time, was known by people at the time here in 1892, because a lot of people had learned it 30 years earlier in the war. This is John Brown's Body. And we mix in some of the anonymous Union soldier lyrics and some verses by William Weston Patton, I think.
The
So,
longer ones.
yeah, so you're going to be able to sing along with this one too.
Yeah. The tune will be very familiar
Yeah.
from a Union song, but that wasn't around at this time.
Yeah.
So,
And if you,
Our
yeah,
Union forebears picked up the tool and they made it into a Union song.
that's right. So go ahead and, get into it. Make it your own, okay? Let's take a luxurious tempo. Like this kind of tempo? Yeah.
John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave, but his soul is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul is marching on. John Brown, he was a hero, was undaunted, true and brave, and Kansas knows his valor when he fought her rights to save. Now though the grass is growing tall and green above his grave, his soul is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul is marching on. John Brown's knapsack is strapped about Harper's Ferry with his 19 men so few, and frightened old Virginia till she trembled through and through. They hanged him for a traitor, they themselves the traitor crew, but his soul is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul is marching on. They will hang Jeff Davis from a sour apple tree. They will hang Jeff Davis from a sour apple tree. They will hang Jeff Davis from a sour apple tree. His soul will go to hell. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul will go to hell. Now you who fight for freedom, you must strike while strike you may. The death blow of oppression in a better time and way. The dawn of John Brown's vision has now brightened into day. His soul is marching on.
Last time.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul is marching on.
Okay. So this is another song with Civil War origins, another song associated with the Union movement.
And it has resonances with this event.
Yeah,
Because they were holding this fort.
that's right. Yeah. So here at Fort Frick Bay. Yeah. Okay. Let's just launch this bad boy.
You know it's going to go faster by the end.
Yeah. There's a mother thing. Done. 1, 2, 3.
We meet today in freedom's cause and raise our voices high. We'll join our hands in union strong to battle or to die. Hold the fort, for we are coming. Union workers, be strong. Side by side we'll battle onward. Victory will come. Look, my comrades, see a Union banner waving high. Reinforcements now appearing, victory is nigh. Hold the fort, for we are coming. Union workers, be strong. Side by side we'll battle onward, victory will come. We'll see our numbers still increasing, hear the bugle blow. We're Union, we shall triumph over every foe. Hold the fort, for we are coming. Union workers, be strong. Side by side we'll battle onward, victory will come. Fierce and long the battle rages, but we will not fear. Help will come whenever it's needed. Cheer, my comrades, cheer. Hold the fort, for we are coming. Union workers, be strong. Side by side we'll battle onward. Victory will come.
Okay. Turbo speed, okay. Alright. D, okay.
So the Wobblies were really good at taking old tunes, particularly church hymns, and putting them to a much better use with Union.
Are you poor, forlorn, and hungry? Are there lots of things you lack? Is your life made up of mystery? Then doff the bosses off your back. Are your clothes all patched you have your troubles scattered, then dawn, the boss is off your back. Are you almost split asunder, loaded like a long-eared jack? Fool, why don't you buck like thunder, and dog, the boss is off your back. All the agonies you suffer, you can end with one good whack. Strip it up, you ornery duffer, and dog, the boss is off your back.
Okay, so when you get the last verse, last two lines. So this song comes from after Battle of Homestead as well, but not too long after, within 16 years, and it's another one that captures our feeling of the moment today, that carries through from 132 years ago. So
Again, appropriate level of pain.
yeah, appropriate. Yeah, this is how we're really feeling. So.
We have fed you all for 1,000 years, and your hair was still unfed. Though there's never a dollar of all your wealth, but Mars the worker's dead. We have yielded our best to give you rest, and you lie on a crimson wool. And if blood be the price of all your wealth, good God, we have paid in full. There is never a mind blown skyward now, but we're buried alive for you. Then there's never a wreck drifts shoreward now, but we are its ghastly crew. Go reckon our dead by the forges red, and the factories where we spin. If blood be the price of your cursed wealth, good God, we have paid it in. We have fed you all for 1,000 years, for that was our doom, you know. From the days when you chained us in your field to the strike of a week ago, you have taken our lives, our husbands and wives, and we're told it's your legal share. But if blood be the price of your lawful wealth, good God, we have bought it fair. And if blood be the price of your lawful wealth, good God, we have bought it fair.
So, how are we feeling, team? Want to do another one or two? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
feeling one.
Yeah. All right.
Which one?
IWW.
Power?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Maybe from the chorus.
Sure.
Learn up the chorus, you know.
So yet another one that was a hymn, and then became a labor hymn.
Yeah. All right. So there is power in a band of working folk. Easy, right? When we stand, hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
That's a power.
That's a power
that must rule in every land. One industrial union grand. All right. So we're gonna do that chorus first, and then launch the verses. So have fun. Do a harmony on this one. Get crazy with it.
Go crazy.
Get wild and woolly with it. Yeah.
No one is grading you.
You already got the A for this class. This is extra credit.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, the song is there actually.
We say.
Yeah. So, there is power in a band of working folk. When we stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union brand. So you know that part, okay? Alright, so here go verses. 1, 2, 3. Would you have freedom from wage slavery? Then come join the grand industrial band. Would you from misery and hunger be free? Come on, do your share, lend a hand. There is power in a band of working folk. When we stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union grand. Well, if you keep licking the boot of your boss and nod and agree to whatever they like, but if you would turn every wind to a loss, then give up your power to strike. There is power in a band of working folk. When we stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union brand. Would you have mansions of gold in the sky and live in a shack that's way in the back? Would you have wings up in heaven to fly, but starve here with rags on your back? No, 'cause there is power in a band of working folk. When we stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union brand. If you like sluggers to beat in your head, then don't organize, all unions despise. If you want nothing before you are dead, shake hands with your boss and look wise. There is power in a band of working folk. When we stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union brand. Oh, come all you workers from every land, and come join the grand industrial band. Then we our share of this earth shall demand. Come on, do your share, lend a hand. 'Cause there is power in a band of working folk. When we stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union brand. There is power in a band of working folk. When we stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union brand. So we're the Pittsburgh Labor Choir. You can join. Just come on through. Come talk to any of us. We'll connect you up with that. 2, 3. When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. But what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. What we hold in common
Is there aught we hold
parasite.
with the greedy
Who would lash us into
parasite?
serfdom.
Who would lash us
And
into
crush us with his might.
and crush us with his might?
Is there anything left to us?
Anything
But to organize and fight.
to organize and fight for the union